the SM Media Podcast Network. Hi folks, and welcome to our latest episode of the SM Media East of Scotland Football Show. I'm Scott McPike. It is always a pleasure to be your host, and it's always a pleasure to welcome onto the show. It's a delight to have him back, the manager of Hawick Royal Albert, Kenny Aitchison.
Thanks for having me, Scott. It's been a year. I know you couldn't have enough of me, so it's good to be
No.
back. Have a nice chat.
Always a pleasure to get you on, mate, and talk about the East of Scotland, and proudly brought to you by App and Sports, obviously our tremendous sponsors, but we shout out for them later on in the show. But it's been a fairly busy week, obviously, not a lot of league games, a few games obviously rescheduled because of the weather, but it was good just to get us be able to talk about games because I know obviously for yourselves, I don't think you've played in what, a month?
We've not played in a month, but there's been an abundance of friendlies over
Mm.
the past few weeks. We played up at Wallingford the other week, and there's about three teams waiting in the queue to get on the pitch after us.
Right, okay.
So I'm sure a lot of guys that have been organised have kept busy, kept the players fit, and it's good to get to the proper games now. No.
And as you say, like the way the kind of league is going, it's basically just Saturday from now until the end of May, and it's just going to be week after
Yeah.
week. That's what we want, but fingers crossed the weather is kind to us. Like in terms of the kind of league, like we spoke about it last week, obviously in the show about
Mhm.
how impressive that third division is, and obviously Lochgelly sitting at the top of it, Hawick sitting in second. You
Yeah.
must be happy where you're at the moment, like in terms of the kind of way the seasons went, kind of big results in there. Would you have took that at the start of the season, been sitting second?
I certainly would have, but now that we're there, I just look at the eight draws we've had, and I think that could be a heck of a lot more points. I think the main problem is how well Lochелly are doing.
Mm-hmm.
They're just strolling that league, and the gap between us and them was it now 13 points already? I don't think anybody's catching them. But we've been happy. There's been some absolute terrific games for us this season.
That's what I was going to say. Like, if you were to say four words about Hawick season so far, it'd be both teams to score. Because I
Mm.
think it's only happened not in two. I think it's only not happened in two games, and they were the first two of the first four of the season.
Yeah, with our opening game was a 2-0 draw. We're 2-0 up.
Yeah,
And then it's 2-2, and we couldn't get the winner. There's been so many games where it goes both ways where we've chucked results that you should have won, and then we've had ones like Edinburgh United, for example, we're
hmm
2-1 down and with a man down and scored two in the 90 plus minutes. And these are great wins, but I always feel in football you get more disappointments than successes, really. So I tend to feel sorry for the other coach. I remember for Nizzy for Edinburgh. I just looked at him and think I've been there, mate, and I couldn't enjoy it as much. It felt like a con. But if you're a hockey season title holder, you've had some great
hmm
games. Even Saturday there, lots of talking points at the game. Lots of up and downs throughout the match, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. For that reason alone.
And like as a competitive league, and obviously there's good sides in it. That's one of the things that's kind of eye catching me the most about this league is the kind of three sides that came down last season: Edinburgh, Ormiston, and Newborough. They're
Yeah,
kind of, do you know what I mean? They're kind of, they're not sitting where you thought they would be. And again,
yeah,
that kind of shows the kind of progression of teams in it that are coming
yeah.
up. Obviously, Linton have had a good season. Livingston United have really improved. Like, there's really good sides in that league.
Yes, there's no easy game. You would look at this league table and think, well, you've got Newborough, Edinburgh, Community, that'll be a given, and
hmm
there's no such thing in our league. I think it's the same for the leagues above.
hmm
Everybody's so competitive at the moment, and it just takes one season for a team to become a sort of bottom club to bring a full new team in and challenge again. I think Livingston's testament to that. They finished with I think 10 points last year, and they've almost tripled that points total, and they're now pushing for the top three, which is a remarkable job, that Colin's done. So yeah, I mean, every game I'm like, oh no, I'll get a draw here. That'll be lucky, and that's probably what we've done most of the times. But yeah, what the rest of Scotland ex-junior teams, it's always a battle, And even when we're 2-0, 3-0 up, I'm still edgy, going, oh no, another goal, and it could be you could chuck this here. So yeah, definitely been a lot of entertainment for sure.
Yeah, and like the spread of goals on your side as well. Like again, these are just in terms of up until the 1st of December. But I know obviously
Yeah,
that Harry scored a double at the weekend and Ben scored a double. But like
yeah,
Harry's obviously sitting, we were sitting in 10 on the 1st of December. I think that'll be well, it'll be at least 12 now. Ben's
yeah,
had a good season. Ben Tracy's playing really well as well. All three of them scored at the weekend.
yeah.
A good spread in the squad of goals.
Yeah, it's a good sort of headache for me to have because if you're playing a 4-4-2, you can only play sort of two out and out strikers. We've got a lot of attacking talent in our team. It's probably why we're a little bit stronger than last year. Last year we heavily relied on Harry Fowler to get lots of goals for us, but we've since brought in Ben Tracy,
Mhm.
whose goals to game ratio has been very, very impressive. Benny Wandu is someone who performed with Edinburgh Community last year. He had a lot of interest, and God knows how I got him to the Albert. It must have been some sales pitch. And he's done really well. He started the season tremendously. He had a little setback with an injury. We regained him to fitness, and I think Saturday he's just reminded everybody what he can do, as a striker in this division. He's certainly got a lot of work to do as the rest of the guys, but yeah, it's every week I have to drop two players at least, and then they're disappointed. But it's reminding them that, if you're on the bench and come on to the game at a good point, and we put Benawando on at half time. The guy was raging. He wasn't speaking to me. He's a big guy as well, so he could probably knock me out if he punched me. And it was one of them. Not speaking to me a word. I said, "Well, do your talking on the pitch," and that's what he done. It's all you can do to prove a point to a manager.
Mhm.
And if you watch the highlights, his first goal was tremendous. It was like a volley, a reaction volley to the far post, and then the last goal of the game, he's managed to dink their keeper from about 30 yards. A real looping chip. I thought it was miles over the bar, and a great finish. Harry gets all the plaudits for our team. Probably the standout, but I think the rest of the guys, Greg Ford and Lewis Dyke
Yeah.
are all contributing. So it's really good to have sit back as a coach and watch them take the field. It's really entertaining every weekend.
Yeah, and we'll obviously get your thoughts on the game on Saturday later on, and obviously the other
Yeah.
games in the third division. We'll start
Mhm.
with the Senior Scottish Cup. Obviously, a massive game for Musselburgh.
Yeah.
Massive, I think, a massive achievement for the East for a team to get there in the first place.
Yeah.
And they gave Hamilton a game. Obviously, it ended up in 3-1, but I think they can take a
Yeah.
lot of credit for their performance.
They certainly did. Yeah. I mean, the gulf is massive in terms of what they have in terms of the finances, but I think they've done huge credit. It was obviously a very close game. A lot of people probably tipped Musselburgh to get a win in that match, which just shows, how much confidence people have in that squad. But it'll be a wee money maker for them,
Absolutely, yeah.
and certainly another target for next season, where I'm sure they'll probably do it again and get to this stage. I wouldn't put past them.
And it's that as well, obviously. Like we talk about the pyramid and we kind of talk about the debate all the time, but like they're looking in a good position to maybe go up in the Lowland League, to go up into the Lowland League.
Yeah.
And it's that next step into it. It's like that gives you a wee taster of what those days can be. If you get them once, you could get them like, all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's just one of those kind of occasions that I think a lot of these clubs will be looking at going like that's where we want to be one day, and that's the beauty of what the
Yeah.
pyramid system can offer.
Yeah, I think so. I think having the pyramid, it's given clubs an opportunity to get to the top, which wasn't previously there.
Hmm.
It used to be the old days where you'd have to apply and compete with other clubs.
Yeah,
And this time it's done on merit. So it's not just Muscle Brothers, clubs throughout the pyramid. Even in our division with your Linton Hotspurs, teams that aspire to get to the top, and that brings ambitious players to come on board and people that want to support the club
it
in the
certainly
financial
does.
way.
It
Yeah.
certainly does. Yeah. We'll go into the qualifying cup and the King Cup quickly.
Yeah.
Hillaby 3, Dundonald Bluebell 2, Whitehill
Yeah.
Welfare 2, St Andrews now in the fourth round of the qualifying cup. We
Yeah.
are recording this just before Camelin play Musselburgh Athletic on Wednesday. That could be. I think a lot of people about that game. That could be a good crowd actually.
Yeah, that'll be a bumper crowd for sure. I think that could go either way. As much as we've just credited Musselburgh, Camelon can be a really tricky place to be, and it wouldn't surprise me in a year or two, a couple of years' time, Camelon being in that position if they continue to make the advances they've done so far. So, touch wood. I wouldn't like to predict it. I think Musselburgh should maybe edge that one, but who knows? Who knows in
Yeah,
the cup.
absolutely. Yeah, and then the King Cup, Falthouse 2, Inverkeithing 1, and Dalkeith 1, Bo'ness 5. Falthouse beating Inverkeithing, that's a kind of big result for them as well.
Yeah, Falkhouse is a really tough ground to go to. I mean, I was celebrating a one-on draw against them last time. They've got a real hardcore support down there, and it's an incredibly tough place to go. So that result doesn't surprise me, having been there, and comparing that to Inverkeithing, they've got Dalgety Bay with a lovely Astro. It's a sort of youth team that's built into a first team. So, that was a really tough one for them, and good for us because hopefully Falthouse have extra games and that'll maybe shift their focus from the league where they're also competing. But a great result for them.
No, certainly was. Let's move into the league action. We'll start with the Premier Division. Obviously, Genefield, a big opportunity for them. Away to Glenrothes, they won 2-0, goals from Fergus and Stewart. Again, they've got two games in hand on Musselburgh. They're 8 points behind them. Hallaby, obviously, same number of points, but played a game
Yeah.
less than Genefield. And that league, obviously, the kind of top five, I would say probably Whitburn and Haddington will maybe need
Mhm.
snookers even at this point,
Yeah.
but it's looking very good between the top three, and that's a big performance for Genefield.
Yeah, I think so. It's keeping the pressure on Musselburgh. I know they've got a few games in hand, and these things aren't always guaranteed, of course. But that'll be a really tight one. I'd like to see, where they are towards the end with the last few games to go, and it could just take a bit of bad luck, poor drop of form for that to change really quickly. So I couldn't see any of those teams past any of those teams getting to that top position. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think obviously, like as well, like it gets to that kind of stage where like it's important when they play against each other. Now I'm just kind of looking here as well, and
Yeah.
like they play each other. Like Musselburgh play Hallabeath on the 26th of April,
Mhm.
and Musselburgh play Genefield on the 10th of May. Like they're two, like you're looking at them as potential like
Yeah,
title
that'll be a
games.
good
Like
one.
it's, and you just hope you kind of hope for a neutral's point of view that all three get there and all three are in the conversation with a couple of games to go because
Yeah,
it's good for us. It's good for us as neutrals to see who comes out on top. But they're all
100%.
three are really good. They're really good squads, really good sides, and they're
Yeah.
winning games.
Yeah, they're all pretty established clubs. I've been particularly impressed with Hilly Beef. I remember
Mm,
they competed with Trinent not too long ago, and from watching that game back, somebody gave me the VO, of course, and they were tremendously well organised. They made it really hard for Trinent, and it just gives a Trinent a reminder for how hard that league was they were in a few years ago. But even that, I can imagine this will be a really exhausting season just to get to the first position,
yeah.
and then you've got the extra addition of having to compete in the playoffs. So
Mhm. Yeah.
it's probably one of the hardest pyramid systems to actually get up in Scotland. They moan in England about the Conference League and having to only having one spot. We barely have a spot to get promoted as a guarantee. So yeah, all pretty exciting stuff.
We'll move into Whitburn 4, Dunny Pace now. A double from Ross Crawford, goals from Edwards and Graham. And Whitburn they're doing pretty well actually. Like they're 17 games, 30 points, they're in fourth place. 4-0 win at home, you take that every day.
100%. I mean, Whitburn were in our division.
Mm-hmm.
Probably had subsequent promotions every single season.
Yeah,
So it's certainly a club you can aspire to be, being in our position. Not that we are comparable with Whitburn at the moment, but they've had the same manager for a while, Darren, and
Darren, yeah.
they play a really nice brand of football. I think it's a predominantly the same core squad, which is impressive as well. And obviously they've got a really big youth system below them. So, they're probably there on merit, and I reckon with, continued progression, they could certainly be that top position club, along with possibly a Haddington's. They're all clubs that are building and getting stronger and stronger.
And obviously another side who are beginning to improve as well after a really tough start was Socky Juniors. They won 3-0 at home to Luncarty, puts
Yeah.
them up to 11th place in the table. And they've obviously had their kind of issues this season as well. but you've got to admire the way they've went about it since they had that deduction.
Yeah, it can be one of those things. You know, we've had I don't know if it was a Comet admin error or something like that. I think there's been a lot of them this year. Ineligible players, I think they got done for. So it's one of them where I've seen managers resign over it and causing real disarray within the club.
Hmm.
But it seems that they're now consolidating. They're getting themselves further away from obviously the relegation spots, which is the worst case. And they've got a couple of hard teams below them, considering Tynecastle, who are a terrific team, and Edinburgh University, a lone league team, just at the bottom. It just shows you how strong that division is. Yeah, but credit to them.
And Hutchison Vale, obviously, they're making their home ground a wee bit of a fortress at the moment. They've won their last three at home, won 2-0 against Edinburgh Uni, goals from Walton and Signorini. And Hutchison Vale, obviously, Stephen will be on the show in a couple of weeks. And I
Yeah.
really like the bit of experience that he's brought as well. Like, they did really well last season. And obviously, I think Darren had left fairly early into this season. Stephen coming in as well, good head. And he's brought a bit of confidence back to that side, and their focus will be just to try to get above that relegation spot, and they're doing that at the moment.
Yeah, I remember Ryan Harden was there, the
Ryan Harden.
ex-Salvesen manager. Yeah, Darren's Whitburn, I think.
Yeah.
But I remember speaking to him, and he just seemed as if he'd done all he could with the budget he'd had, which you can understand. But they brought Stephen in, who was at Galashiels, or
Mhm.
rivals. Rivals are 3 leagues apart. And I think that's probably what they might have needed as a club, just that freshness, the bit of a bit of optimism to go forward. And for Hutchie Vale to consolidate in that league is a fantastic achievement. And they're always getting this conveyor belt of young players coming through. So they're one that can keep building for where they're at for sure.
Yep, absolutely. And Pennycook 2, Dunbar 2, double from Whitson. 94th minute penalty, two red cards in that game. Fairly chaotic if you were there.
Yeah.
But I think if I don't think anybody would surprised if that was a draw because they're only a point between them in the league. They're two very kind of tight sides, and
Mhm.
we're not going to say who, but we've heard reports tonight that Dunbar might have a new manager shortly.
Yeah, I've heard rumours as well, but it's obviously a
Probably going to
future.
be out by the time this goes out, so we'll look. You know.
Yeah, I made a prediction, I think a couple of weeks ago when that job became available. I said this particular manager, I think, will be the pick for them. He's done well at the club he's at, and I can see it being a reasonable move for him to take. But Dunbar are a really good club. They have
Mhm.
a fantastic. I called it an astral, but it's that good a pitch. It's grass, and they've got a really nice committee. From what I've heard from supporters, and Dunbar's a team that might feel they're underachieving with
Yeah,
the resources they have. So it just probably takes the right man to come in and try and get them to the upper essence of the league. They'll be looking at Musselburgh possibly is where they want to come to. But I would have loved to have seen the last 10 minutes of that game. I've seen a bit of their manager's post-match interview, and I had to turn it off with the tone. The baby was crying. So it looked a good one. I would have loved to have seen it.
yeah, I'd love to have been at it as well. But in terms of obviously Dunbar, like, as you say, like maybe aside, like Kevin's obviously moved on to Berwick, but even
Yeah.
Pennycook did degree as well. Obviously, they've had their kind of transitions in the past couple of seasons,
Yeah.
but they're a side, like two sides that can push up, and two sides that have been close in the past few years. Like Dunbar have obviously like been really good promotions. Pennycook were, what was it, the year Trinema went up? Pennycook were second. Like they're
Yeah, Tony Begg was the manager
yeah.
who's since went to Falkirk. That's just normal, isn't it? Teams have periods where they've got a bit of momentum, they've got a strong squad, and you'll find in the next few years this league table will look very, very different, of course, as all the ones below. But yeah, I think Pennycook have done well to ride the storm. They had a few managers at one point. They've had a lot of real change and inconsistency. But they've obviously given I think they've got co-managers now, if I'm right in saying. I don't know the guys' names, but it seems that they've had a bit of faith and a bit of consistency taken over from the previous guys. And having been at the club, it's a really, really nice community setup they've got there. So yeah, give them a couple more years again. Saying this about everybody, you never
Yeah.
know.
Absolutely. We'll move into the first division. Heriot Watt again. I'm giving them a wee bit of a streak here. I'm going to try and have a wee bit of a streak.
Mhm.
Banjie was on last week. They won 3-0, so take a bit of confidence from that. that you might be
Take a
on.
3-0, 100%.
But they won 3-0 away to Blackburn. Never an easy place to go. But
Mhm.
again, like Harry Watt, I said it so many times last week. They're just so impressive the way they're going about this.
Yeah, I know. Me and Banji have worked together, or BJ, and I'm not just saying that because I like the guys. His team's probably the hardest I've came up against in terms of like a tactical point of view. And the reason they're so hard is the players rotate so frequently. They have
Hmm.
patience in possession. It's one of those where you have to actually sit in the dugout and just watch and go,
Yeah,
right, what are they doing? They're really unique in that aspect, and they are kind of an outlier within the pyramid system. They're not like Edinburgh University, who have, I would say, a lot more resources as a sort of group. They have to train a Praetorium. They don't have the scholarship sort of scheme
yeah,
that other teams have. And I think that just goes to, the management structure that they have there. It must be quite nice to have the Orion pitches, and it's a perfect balance for good coaching, good facilities, and having educated players to take these sort of things on board really, really quickly. Um, so they're the ones that kind of sort of stand out to me in terms of the names in that league. I think being second is a tremendous achievement. I keep saying to BJ, what more can you do at Harry Watt? And then he keeps somehow improving every
yeah.
season. So I better stop giving him advice. But we spoke about Camelin as well. I think it's inevitable they will go up, and this season looks like it's probably going to be their time to shine.
Yeah, they've got a lot of firepower. And
Yeah,
aside who are obviously going pretty well at the top as well on Newton Grange Star, they
yeah,
won 2-1 away to Crossgates, obviously like third playing fifth. So but that was going to be a big game. And
yeah.
Newton Grange, you want to beat the team of teams around you, especially away from home. And that'll feel like a big 3 points for them.
Yeah, we played Nitton in one of the cups at the start of the
Mhm.
season. It took I think we scored in the 85th minute from a free kick, and they'd equalised through a very controversial penalty. I'm still not over it. But Nitton are a really good club, proper football club, really nice ground, really nice committee and fan base. And I like the way they've done it. They gave Paul Milligan the 20s job. He took over a 20s team that was predominantly bottom every season, and a lot of these players have came with him to the first team, which is a really nice way to do it. They've got a really young lad I knew called Max Dowlings. I think he's went to Bonnyrigg,
Yeah, seen
so
that. Yeah.
yeah, he was certainly a standout for the youth. So it just shows you how well they're doing. And I think even if they were to finish fourth or fifth or sixth, I think they've still got enough there to eventually get promoted if they keep going the way they're going.
Yep, absolutely. A team who are really improving over the past few weeks have been Edinburgh South. 3 wins
Yeah,
in a row, all away from home. A 3-0 away win at Lochore. Again, they're
yeah,
just really kind of improving over the course of the past few weeks. Into
yeah,
sixth place in goal difference. They're going pretty well, and it's again winning away from home, but keeping clean sheets as well. Like they're
yeah.
very, very consistent. 7 wins, 3 draws, 7 defeats, 34 goals scored, 34 goals conceded. So consistency is the
Yeah.
name of the game there.
Yeah, I think Edinburgh South have only been in the league for 3, 4 seasons now, and they're only one division away from obviously the Premier.
Hmm.
Ainsley has been there a few seasons now. He's doing a good job. He always seems to bring really good players together, and credit to them. Looking at this league table, I'm very surprised they're as high as they are. So what a great job he's doing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely not. And another team that are solid as well, Kirkcaldy and Dysart. They won 3-1 at Preston Athletic. Hat
Yeah.
trick from Kieran Doll. Good result for them. And
Mhm.
they're very, very solid as well. But I mean, scoring the
Yeah.
hat trick, it always catches the eye.
Yeah, I think so. Concordia are obviously a well-established club in that area. To get a win like that over Preston's is no easy feat. They've got a really good squad and a good manager. So that's probably one of the standard results, I guess, for them. Fair play.
And Armiston Rangers, they had a big result, 1-4-2 at Leith Athletic. We'll get to them in a wee second, but Armiston
Yeah,
Rangers, they're doing all like they're drumming on 12th. I think I'd imagine Philip to be a bit higher than that, but I'd
yeah,
say they're. I mean, but that can be a big kind of turning point for them as well. And you look at their kind of round of fixtures coming up, like
yeah,
they play Canoe and then they play Kirkcaldy, play Blackburn. They've got three potentially winnable games, so they
yeah.
could put a run together.
Yeah, again, Fildo's doing a good job. I think probably the biggest thing for them is the amount of players that have moved on to higher
Yeah.
level. Aaron Laidlaw was terrific for them, and I reckon if they had his goals in this current team, it wouldn't surprise me if they were where Edinburgh South were. It,
Mhm.
it takes that one player, but I believe they've made a few good signings over the past few weeks. So it'll be interesting to see how they settle into the squad. But you'll feel a lot more comfortable with the 5 points, obviously, between them and Preston. And the next few results will be very important for them if they can get to that sort of mid-table position further away.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go to Leith quickly, obviously, as well.
Yeah,
The news obviously came out that they had parted ways of co-managers, John Robertson and Craig Hume. John's obviously been on the show. First
yeah,
of all, wish them all the best, but they did a really good job at Leith, and
yeah.
potentially, I don't know what's going to happen there, but two guys who I don't imagine will be without a job for long.
Yeah, I'm very surprised by that. I think John was an ex-player at Leith Athletic, and he's got a really nice squad in there. A lot of good guys, but knowing Leith, they always have a succession plan in mind. I know when Stevie Chalmers was the manager, he'd taken over from Leighton, who they were both kind of co-managers, and the appointment of John was done pretty quickly after. So it wouldn't surprise me if they already have their next guy in mind to step in. But credit to them. I think it was their first jobs, and
Mhm.
they've had a very good first job in football. I wish I had the same. So definitely be interested to see where they end up next.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a wee word before we get into the second division from our sponsors at Appen Sports. This section of the podcast is sponsored by Appen Sports. Appen Sports are experts in creating bespoke, unique, and high quality custom kits and training wear for your football team. The free online kit designer, ready with over 70 fully customisable templates, is here to help you create a brand new and distinctive look for your team. Your order also means that Appen Sports will reserve a place for your team in their club shop, making reordering your teamwear easy and giving your supporters somewhere to get their hands on your amazing gear. To check out everything Appen Sports has to offer, visit their website appensports.com now and get started on transforming your football club's look. Make your custom football kits easy with Appen Sports. Make it happen. Move into the second division where we'll take a look first of all, a big clash at the top of the table. Kennaway Star Hearts 2, East Houses Lily 1, takes Kennaway to within a point of East Houses in second, down to 10 men as well. Kennaway second play third. Third always want to win, and they've got the win, and it kind of gets them closer.
Yeah, it's so competitive in that league. Apart from Armadale, of course, I think this is their second season in this division, and they've now got the momentum to go up. But I can't pick anyone apart from East Houses. Even down to
Even
Derby
second to
College.
10th is very tight, isn't it? Like even
Yes, I couldn't bet on that. That'll change so much in the
mhm.
next few months. There's a lot of teams. I mean, West Calder strolled our league last season, and they're sitting fourth. But credit to Kenny, I know they not relegated the season prior, and they've seemed to have regrouped and rebuilt very quickly. They've got a very hard pitch. Actually, it's on a slope. I remember, and even East Houses have a terrific team. They stole our centre back, Aidan McGlynn, who was terrific for us, and I'm pleased for him that he's part of a successful team this season. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move into Burnt Island 6, Vale of Leithen 2. Puts Burnt Island up to 10th in the table. Again, 6-2 at home. Doubles from Hunter, Murphy, and Gibb. And again, you won 6-2 at home, but they're sitting at the that kind of second to 10th where it's so tight. But again, all it takes is maybe two or three wins, and they could be up there if kind of things work out above them.
yeah, it's obviously a terrific result. I think it's a wee bit concerning for the Vale of Leithen. They had a bit
Yeah,
of momentum, they got a nice win in the Scottish, and they seem to have picked up a few points. So it'll be interesting to see how they react from that one. Certainly a high score line, doesn't help their goal difference in that case. So it'll be interesting to see how Ian gets them back in.
absolutely. We'll move into Stirling University Reserve 6, Coldstream 1. I don't think a lot of people had that result in their radar for the. I think Coldstream have been very, very good. And Stirling Uni, again, you don't really know what you're getting because obviously it's the reserve side, but
Yeah.
six different goal scorers. They couldn't ask for a better game.
Yeah, I had to read that one again. I thought that was a misprint. What a result for them, you
Yeah.
know. Coldstream are having a great season. I
No
think
many teams will beat Coldstream 6-1.
no, not for sure, but I remember even last season the manager had left, and Coldstream are very quiet on social media. You don't know what's going on at the club most of the times, and that can go in your favour because it means
It
teams can possibly invest.
doesn't go in mine because
It
I
doesn't go
that's
in
the
yours,
one
yeah.
side that you can't get
Yeah.
scorers from. But
Yeah, 100%. But listen, if you make a lot of noise on social media, that's what the players see, and
yeah,
it can go against you. We try and have a balance between the two. I remember just going back to our league, I know Linton do very well on social media, and the feedback from a lot of the opposition is, "Oh, we can't wait to play them," and it's just amazing how a tweet can wind somebody up so much. But yeah, they're doing really well. A rival of Hawick, of course, but
hmm
a really, really nice club that I've worked with previously,
yeah.
so
Absolutely. And Oakley are a side that are really impressing me as well. They're going about their business very well. 3-2 home win over Tweedmouth.
yeah,
Penman, Yapo, and Mooney with the goals for them. And Oakley sitting in eighth place as well. And like just the fact I spoke about this a lot last week on another show I was on.
Mhm.
Just that even coming down for a season can just kind of halt your momentum. I think that's
Yeah,
exactly what it's done for Oakley. And it just gives them that bit more kind of boost and confidence to win
yeah,
games, easier opposition to a degree, but like you can
yeah.
see the fortunes have turned at Oakley.
Yeah, 100%. I remember they won, I think, this division a few years back, and there was a managerial change, and I don't think they had a time of transition in the league above, and they went back down again. But to be eighth in that position is still a good achievement. You have to win a lot of games, and out of the 14 they've played, they've only lost three, which is what kind of stands out for
Yeah,
me with Oakley. They obviously seem a very hard team to beat, and for them, it's trying to turn a lot of these draws into wins, similar to ourselves, and that can put them mid-table to promotion contenders. So
yeah.
I wouldn't put past them in the second half of the season. Pick that.
No, I wouldn't either at all. Edinburgh College on our side are going well, beat Bathgate 2-1. Bathgate were 1-0 up through Thompson, but goals from Baldy and Main gave Edinburgh College a big result.
Mhm.
And again, I think they're very, very impressive. And they've got games in hand in Coldstream and Kennaway. Like, they're
Yeah.
in with a shout here.
Yeah, they've got some really good young players at Edinburgh College. I know they've got the former Hutchie Vale, George up there. He always has really good players on the surplus list to me. And I would imagine they would feel they were underachieving in that position. I think they're a team that would probably aspire to get higher, and I think they will do if they can keep developing as a team. You know.
Into the third division, we'll obviously start with Hawick 5, Newborough 2. Newborough down to 10 men, I believe.
Yeah, that was a weird one. Newborough went 1-0 up after five
Yeah.
minutes on the transition, and their player was given a red card about 2 minutes later. It was a really weird one. We had probably our biggest crowd of the season, but when you're up against a man down, it puts a little bit of pressure on your team to get a goal quickly. And it kind of felt that the first half, nothing was going right for us. If we kept possession from the back and worked patiently, you would hear people from the stands screaming to get it forward. And then on occasions when we played it forward and they weren't successful, you would get shouted at for wasting the ball. So it was a real first half of anxiety for us. And obviously Newborough were quite happy to sit with a bank of 10, and just
Mhm.
just let us play. It wasn't until the second half we made a couple of changes, and rarely the changes work, but they did on this occasion. Benny Rwandu, who I mentioned, chipped in a goal straight away. Newborough then scored a tremendous volley, and the player they had in their team was absolutely terrific. I should give him a shout out. I don't know if I want to say his name because in case somebody else signs him. The number 11. His name goes past me. I wrote it down somewhere, but he had a tremendous game. Very strong, very powerful. And if anybody wants a bit lazy, they can certainly pick him up. He's a great player. Um, but Newborough went 2-1 up in that game, and credit to my team, we just kept working the ball, and we obviously showed at the end we were quite prolific. That really nice attacking options I had, paid dividends that game, and there were some really nice goals scored. If you look at our Twitter, a game where I went away not feeling as happy as I should have done. I was still annoyed with the first half performance. But another good game, an exciting game to watch if you came down to Albert Park.
Yeah. We'll move into Lochgelly 5, Linton nil. Obviously, Lochgelly going 13 points clear at the top. Double from Scott
Yeah.
Russell, goals from Haggett, Murray, and Garvey. And they just look rock solid, Lochgelly, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, they've got the most goals, the best defence, probably everything about them's the best at the moment. I have a real soft spot for Kelly because my first season at Hawick in the second, they finished bottom and we were second. So we're kind of both in the same boat.
Hmm.
Went down at the same time. I think they kept the same manager and a lot of the same squad. So if there was one team I would like above me, it's certainly Loch Kelly. I think people have said it before. They've got a really nice committee. Even when we played them, we beat them 4-2. It's their only defeat, by the way. I want to highlight that. And the guys were just really sound afterwards, take you asking for a pint, have a nice chat, and a real friendly club. And I can see with that type of environment why they've maybe kept a good bunch of players there. And I wouldn't put it past them to continue this form, in the second division and try and get promoted there if they do go up. But credit to their squad and the manager and committee. Really good. I'm jealous of them, to be honest.
Yeah, they look pretty good, and hopefully you're joining them next season in the second division. We will go to Livingston United 3, Pumferson 2, double from Birchall, goal from Avenue. Livingston United, again, we spoke about it earlier. They're really, really impressing me because last season they looked in a lot of trouble, but the turnaround there has been very, very impressive.
Yeah, I think I mentioned earlier they only had 10 points
Hmm.
last season. I remember Colin Sutherland came into the job, and I speak to Colin a few times, and I just love his journey he's had. He's came in from a team that's looking for scraps in terms of player recruitment, and he must be over the moon to be fourth. I think it's probably one of the best jobs that's been done in East of Scotland in terms of a turnaround for a club. I don't know if many clubs have tripled their points already at this stage of the season. And credit to them. And we've played Livingston twice and we've failed to beat them. They beat us 3-1 away from home. And the last game we drew 2-2, missed a penalty in the last minute. But they're one of the hardest teams to play against. They've just got so much talent in the squad. They've recruited really well. And having played them, I'm not surprised where they are. Um, so yeah, I think they could certainly sneak the top three if they keep doing what they're doing.
And the other game in that league was Edinburgh United 1, Ormiston 1, Morris for United, and Ormiston's goal came from Paul Adrian. And those two sides, obviously, 2 points between them. Ormiston have played a game less. And what do you think, like Edinburgh and Ormiston? Like, do you think they have kind of maybe just struggled this season, or do you think they're just kind of going through that maybe transition, maybe need another season before they can see the
Yeah,
kind of tide turning?
yeah, I think I can understand Edinburgh's position. When you go down to this league, you really don't know what to expect. And we were pretty much the same. We took a year to take stock of what types of football that everybody played and,
Mhm.
and, and what types of battles you were having. It does help you the next season in terms of who you recruit and how you're going to set your team up. And I totally agree. They're both going through the same sort of process. I think Edinburgh are slightly different. They've had the same manager, so he'll have a bit more time to make those changes. Whereas Ormiston have recently had a new appointment from Guy Kerr. They brought in the ex-Whitehill manager. I think is it Mark Smith who's taken over.
Mhm.
And if you look at them, they've recruited a lot of players. So it'll be interesting to see how they players settle over the coming weeks. It could galvanise them, and they can keep picking up results. But away from home, a 1-1 draw is not a bad feat from Edinburgh. They're a very hard team to play against. Got really, really strong players. And yeah, I think they two are just testament to how hard this division is because they are so competitive. And you wouldn't believe, having played them, that they're eighth and ninth. But somebody has to be there, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll move into the games coming up this weekend. Obviously, looks a full card. Fingers crossed we get it. It is a bit frosty just now, but I think the weather is going to turn back to a wee bit mild. So hopefully we get a lot of games coming in. Just some of the games that are catching the eye over the weekend. Premier Division, Genefield, Hawick, I think could be massive for both clubs.
Yeah.
Sauchie, Haddington, I think it's another game that could be quite interesting in the Premier Division. First Division, you've got Crossgates versus Blackburn. Bowness here at what I think could be very, very good. I think there could be goals in that. We'll
Yeah,
go to the second division where West Calder, Stirling Uni could be quite good, as you've got Tweedmouth Bathgate, good games in that league as well. Third division, Hawick Livingston United will be good as well,
that'll be the
and
best one.
it
Yeah.
will be. And we've also got Ormiston versus Pumperson. So there's games obviously about like hopefully a full card because like I think we're due out. It was good to get a wee bit of a taster last week, but I think a full card would be even more exciting.
Yeah, 100%. I remember last season we'd had to play a point where it was like a game Saturday, a game Monday, a game Wednesday, and then the same schedule repeated over a couple of weeks. I think Stonyburn took the brunt of that, and it just ruins the quality in the end of the season if it gets to that. So fingers crossed. I need to get out of this house, so hopefully it's on.
Kenny, I can't thank you enough for coming back on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise, I can't wait for the third time.
Yeah,
Thanks for
it will
having
be
me.
soon. Always a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much. And to our sponsors, App and Sports as well, thank you very much for supporting the East of Scotland content. And we'll be back next week for our next episode. We'll see you all soon. Thank you.